created it and any individual involved with it is an ongoing investigation.
There's an investigation into what took place in December and January of December 2016, January 2017, when this whole thing started, this grand conspiracy. That is being investigated, is that right?
That has been publicly announced by the department.
That's been announced by the department. Did Chris Wray hide documents from this committee?
You would know better than me, sir.
Well, I think you told us like 700 pieces of information you've given this committee since you've been the director relative to just one incident, the Catholic memorandum from the Richmond field office.
I can give you the comparison, sir. Yeah, the Catholic memo, I believe we turned over 750 documents. In Mr. Ray's tenure, I believe they turned over 19 pages. 19 pages. You've given us 700. Why would Chris Wray hide information from this committee? You'd have to
hazard a guess?
I'm sorry?
Hazard a guess why he would do that?
I don't know, sir.
I think maybe it was because FBI was spying on a priest, trying to get him to break the priest-penitent confidence that exists. You think maybe that was the reason?
You'd have to ask him, sir.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. I want to read a few names here. Arctic Haze, Tropic Vortex, Riding Hood, Foggy Falls, Echoes Fate, Sirens Lure, Genetic Christmas. What are these code names about, Director? You know?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, Arctic Haze, Tropic Vortex. My understanding, these are code names for leak investigations of classified information from the year 2017. Does that ring a bell?
In terms of leak investigations, many of those are classified and many of those are ongoing, Mr. Chairman. But we are working with you to produce documents as we close those investigations or as we declassify them.
Let me ask you this question, because this is something I've wondered about, the way the FBI used to work. This whole thing so many of these things unfolded. Seems to me you had all these people in government leaking information that then gets reported in the press, and there's a story written about it, and then that article is then used to further the investigation and move forward with what they want to do. Did that take place back in 16 and 17?
That's the exact scenario that took place in the FISA application for Carter Page and the rest of the Trump campaign.
And that is frightening, because that's what the CIA is supposed to do in foreign countries. It's not supposed to happen to Americans, but it did, didn't it, Director?
Yes.
And not just any Americans, it happened with the President of the United States. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you were the key guy in helping expose that. And I think our country will be forever grateful for what you did to let the country know that was going on involving Americans, which is not supposed to happen, and not just, again, any American, but the President of the United States. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned by reports that FBI agents have been diverted from their important work on crime and anti-terrorism to work on matters that are not critical to our safety. I'd like to play the video, the whole video
Jeffrey
clip.
Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
So, but the Black Book, it's not just sitting, I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book.
In contrast to that attitude of let it all out, we're getting reports of actions that run contrary to getting everything out and that also involve diversions of FBI resources. For example, an FBI whistleblower reported that you were pressured by the Attorney General to place 1,000 personnel on 24-hour shifts to mine roughly 100,000 Epstein-related records to redact President Trump's name from the files. Bloomberg reported this, that you directed FBI special agents from the New York and Washington field offices to join the Bureau's FOIA employees in Winchester and another building a few miles away, and that while reviewing the Epstein files, FBI personnel identified numerous references to Trump in the documents, and people familiar with the matter said that Trump's name, along with other high-profile individuals, was blacked out. Now, the New York Times reports, and this is a quote, Justice Department officials diverted hundreds of FBI employees and federal prosecutors from their regular duties to go through the documents at least 4 times including once to flag any references to Mr. Trump and other prominent figures. Details of the review were based on accounts by 3 former FBI and Justice Department officials who spoke on condition of anonymity because of fears of retaliation, and further that the FBI finished, after they finished its review of the files and materials, was sent to a team of Justice Department lawyers who double-checked the FBI's redactions and, quote, were instructed to flag any mentions of Mr. Trump and other celebrities. Now, I have 3 questions for you, Mr. Patel, about this. First, how many times did President Trump's name appear in the Epstein files? Was it more than 100, more than 1,000? Were the agents who were pulled from their duties to redact the president's name from the Epstein files working on criminal cases or national security cases or child sex trafficking cases? And are the number of agents that have been reported diverted for these purposes, is that accurate?
No.
No what?
You asked if it was accurate. I said it wasn't.
So you're saying that none of this happened? That,
No, I'm saying it was inaccurate.
okay. How many times did President Trump appear in the Epstein files? More than 100? More than 1,000?
No, and what we've been able to release is what we've been legally able to release, and that has
No,
been
that's
provided
not
to
the question.
public.
I asked you, how many times did the president's name appear?
I don't know.
It's your testimony. You do not know that
The
answer.
number of times, no.
Could you tell us how many agents were diverted for this task and what they were working on?
When you say diverted, you make it seem as if agents were pulled off what they do all the time. Agents at the FBI masterfully do double duty and triple duty. And because of the public's interest in this case, we flexed resources to make sure that we could answer the public signal demand. So do you want us to look through the material and provide it to you, or you do not want us to do that?
So it's
Which
your,
one is it?
it's your testimony that no one was diverted from a criminal matter, that this was a top priority to go through these, this material to look for Mr. Trump's name. Is that your testimony? That's the highest priority for the FBI?
What's one of the most impressive things about the FBI leadership and the careers that are in place is that they make the decisions on who to send where on priorities and make sure the mission needs are not hurt. And that's what happened here.
It's shocking to me that the FBI would think that erasing Mr. Trump's name from the Epstein files is a high priority when we have crime, we have national security threats, we have terrorism threats, we have murders such as that occurred, unfortunately, with Mr. Kirk. It's shocking to hear that that's your highest priority. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I
That's
yield
literally
back.
not what I said.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Director, is President Trump implicated in any wrongdoing related to Jeffrey Epstein?
Based on the entirety of the evidence that we have, absolutely not.
The president is not implicated.
Correct.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about China's malign influence here in America. And, we've seen spy balloons traverse the United States. We've seen police stations in communities around America. And sitting in the chair you're in just 2 years ago, there was a sheriff from Cochise County, Arizona, Mark Daniels, that was here, who said that the exponential increase in the amount of fentanyl that is coming into America is directly related to the open borders policies of the previous administration. Do you agree with Sheriff Daniels' characterization?
In large part, yes.
So since you've been director, has there been a reduction we've talked about how the border is largely secure now, right?
The southern border, yes, sir.
The southern border is largely secure. Has there been a concomitant reduction or a reduction in the amount of fentanyl that is coming into America?
There has been a massive reduction to the tune of, we've seized more than 25% year-to-date this year than the prior year, and that's enough fentanyl to kill 120 million Americans.
Does China play a role in this fentanyl that's coming to America?
As I stated in my opening, sir, what they do and the companies in China, mainland China, do is produce the precursors and the cutting agents that they ship overseas through various countries into the Mexican drug cartels who produce it. So they basically are the cooks in terms of the ingredients.
Tell us, what is the FBI doing to stop China from delivering death to America?
So for the first time in a decade, I actually reached out to my counterpart at the Ministry of Public Security. No one at the FBI had done so, to engage
Ministry of Security, where's that?
in mainland China.
In mainland China, okay, thank you.
To engage in a conversation to say, hey, can we have a certain number of these precursor chemicals listed in China so that they become illegal and illegal to trade. We're also working with our counterparts in places like India and Guatemala because the transshipment routes of the precursors, the Mexican drug cartels have gotten creative, and instead of coming directly to America are going into these countries. And we've had massive success in India and Guatemala, and in those governments, great partnerships in shutting down the ability to ship the precursors into those countries, which are ultimately destined to America.
So those people that are working with security agencies have been working with you, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
So I want to turn to a couple cases that are at the University of Michigan, where Chinese nationals, on behalf of the Chinese government, smuggled in illicit biological materials, stuff that can harm our agricultural industry. What actions are you taking as we see repeated stories of Chinese nationals doing this in the United States?
So just that, sir. In this calendar year alone, as I was mentioning, our counterintelligence operations and cases brought against the Chinese are up by, I think, something like 40%. And specifically, the cases in Michigan show two threat streams, not just against our agricultural industry, which is a threat to national security, but they were also bringing in chemical agents and mushrooms, I'm not the exact expert, that would have ultimately hurt our population. We arrested and charged all of those individuals, and we were aggressively going after them in every single state because they weren't doing it in Michigan alone.
Should research universities across the United States be doing a thorough job of vetting Chinese nationals that are coming to their universities?
They should.
Turning to spying in America, you know, we heard the stories about Senator Dianne Feinstein's driver, who was a Chinese spy. We're familiar with Linda Sun, who worked in Governor Hochul's office, Christine Fang in California. What are you doing to find these people who are Chinese spies that are trying to burrow themselves into the politics of America? Because we know it's happening, right?
Yes, it is. And what our counterintelligence unit is doing is aggressively seeking the intelligence into where these individuals are working. Then we are utilizing our operational authorities to go in and investigate them either through our human source networks and collecting information through lawful process, online, search warrants, and data so that we can bring proper arrest charges and publicize to the world what they're doing here. And just because we've caught a few doesn't mean we've caught everybody. We've got a lot more to go.
I get one more quick question in. The FBI arrested a judge in Wisconsin, Hannah Dugan, for interfering with a federal law enforcement operation. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And is a judge above the law here in the United States of America?
Well, no one is, and that case is ongoing. But as you stated, and these allegations said, there was an interference in a lawfully executed federal law enforcement priority that was interfered with.
I yield back, Mr.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, I believe you had primary importance in starting Operation Viper in Memphis. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Operation Viper brought in the FBI, the DEA, the ATF to help the Memphis police in policing the city.
That'll be phase two, sir. Phase one was FBI and local law enforcement in Memphis for the last few months.
Okay. You did a good job, and the police director and the mayor have told me that was been helpful, the FBI working with the police. And the FBI are trained in law enforcement. They know Miranda rights, they know how to do policing, and they do a good job working with the police. Do you think that the National Guard is necessary to do the work that the FBI is doing now?
Thank you. I do think it's necessary to finish it. What we've done is 500 arrests in Memphis and 110 federal indictments. But what we need to do is we've only secured a piece of where the criminal conduct is occurring in Memphis, and we can't work inside perimeters that are not established and safe, and we don't have the manpower to give us the space to fully go into the areas where the criminal activity remains.
Well, are you suggesting that the National Guard is going to go into the more heavily crime areas?
They're going to establish, like they did in Washington, D.C., perimeters where local law enforcement and the FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshals can go into. We can't be going into all these areas knowing that they're extremely volatile and jeopardizing the safety of our agents.
Did the National Guard do anything in Washington to help the FBI stay safe from these dangerous elements?
They established perimeters.
Established perimeter, and the criminals knew about it, so they...
It was a visible force, sir, so they kind of saw it.
Well, what you did, I commend you for what you did, and I think the FBI coming in, we have a crime problem in Memphis. The FBI has helped, DEA will help, and the ATF will help. I don't think the National Guard's going to help, and what I've seen, they're not trained in law enforcement, are they?
No, sir.
And so that could be a problem. Who will direct the National Guard in Memphis? Will it be, will they have control over your agents?
No, sir, they won't.
Who will have control over your agents? You?
Well, the SAC and then ultimately the chain of command up to Washington, D.C. will control the FBI, but there's a task force that was put together that is going to be led by an interagency. The heads of U.S. Marshals, DEA, and FBI will be working together with DHS collectively on this.
Have you visited Memphis before?
Yes, sir, I have.
So you know how good a city it is.
I love Memphis.
A lot of us do. And Memphis is a great city, great history, civil rights museum. Might say something about slavery, but that was the history. It needs to be taught. Blues, Elvis.
Beale Street.
Beale Street, right, barbecue. And people should come. It's not a troubled city. We've got some crime, but it's not a troubled city. We're not troubled, and we love our city, and we hope that the National Guard doesn't come in and cause people to have questions about Memphis because it's a city they should visit. Let me ask you this about, you said that the homicide rates are coming down to an all-time low?
In modern recorded U.S. history, yes, sir.
When does modern recorded history start?
I think the FBI, and I'll get back to you on this, has stats on that going back about 30 years, sir.
Okay, I was thinking back to Ozzie and Harriet, and I didn't think you could beat Ozzie and Harriet's time. Secondly, you mentioned the Epstein case. Did any of the women that were victims, and they came up here and had a press conference and all, did any of them contact your office and ask to give information?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
If they did, let me ask you first, is there a statute of limitations on sex crimes like that, with sex with a minor, rape?
The DOJ is the expert, but I do not believe there's a statute on that, limitations on that.
So if there's not a statute of limitations, should you not be interviewing those people who know who raped them and the names and the places and give you that information? That seems like that's a treasure trove of information, and it's a serious, serious, serious number of crimes.
Sir, I couldn't agree with you more. We've been very public about asking individuals to come forward with new information, and we would run out every single lead on that.
Well, I'm sure the women will come forward, especially today, to be sure that they will get an opportunity, because that seems like something we ought to do. Mr. Driscoll, what was his reputation?
I can't comment on Mr. Driscoll's matter. It's an ongoing litigation.
Yeah, but his reputation you could tell us about.
I can't tell you about his reputation. His work has been laid out in that lawsuit.
How many of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6th case have been fired?
I don't have that number, sir.
Do you have a ballpark figure?
No, but I can tell you that individuals based on case assignments in the FBI that I have led have not been terminated for case assignments.
Thank you, sir. And come back to Memphis, and you work with Kevin Kane in our Tourism Bureau.
He's great.
Thank you. And thank you for your work in Memphis.
Gentleman, yes, back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized.
So I've got 4 documents I'd like to introduce into the record. The first one is Jeffrey Epstein's 6th story played out for years in plain sight. And Acosta is quoted in here saying, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." The second document is entitled, "What Epstein's Bodyguard Warned About His CIA Connections." The third document is from Fox Digital. It's titled, "Epstein's Private Calendar Reveals Planned Meetings with Obama Admin Official CIA Chief." And the last document is Wall Street Journal article that highlights Ehud Barak's 36 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence for Israel. It may have held that title when he met Epstein, and then, yes.
Without objection, the gentleman will hold for a second. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one UC request. This is Judge Engelmeyer's decision from August in U.S. versus Epstein, stating the government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files dwarfs the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials.
Without objection, the gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007 and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors, such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information, and we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of 2 different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that. Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file. And I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Have you made any progress on the pipe bomb investigation January 6th? And have you made any progress on the motive of the Las Vegas shooter?
As to the first, it's an ongoing investigation, and we have made progress. As to the second, sir, I'll have to get back to you.
All right, thank you. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous
Gentleman
consent
yields back.
request.
Unanimous consent request from the gentleman from New York.
I ask unanimous consent to introduce an unsigned memorandum from July 7, 2025 that says we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties with the insignia of the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Gentleman from Georgia.
unanimous consent request. It's a article entitled DOJ Deletes Study Showing Domestic Terrorists Are Most Often Right-Wing.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, thank you for being here today. I want to first talk about the significant role that the FBI plays in combating the national security threats posed by our nation's greatest threat, our nation's greatest security threat, China and the Chinese Communist Party. It's a fact that China is America's most significant national security threat, isn't that correct?
I would say so, sir.
And you would agree with me that China wants to dominate the United States of America?
I think that's largely their plan.
And they want to dominate the world, both militarily and economically, isn't that correct?
I think so.
And sir, you've been FBI director for the last, 8 months?
7 months, yes.
7 months, and during that time, have you held any stock in any companies founded in China?
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Depot. You own stock.
I think that's, I'll have to get back to you. I think it's a law firm and it's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Depot, is the Shein Company, which was founded in China, correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
Well, they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu, and you own stock in the company that owns Shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation process.
You certainly did. And now, do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company?
Pursuant to the Department of Justice, who reviewed my material that was submitted during my confirmation process, I was able to hold certain stocks, and they made the decision.
You still hold the stocks that you have? You still hold on to these Chinese stocks, these stocks in this Chinese company?
I disagree that it's a Chinese company, but I was in the DOJ, when you're appointed, makes a call on what you can and can't possess.
Well, now, let me ask you this. Chinese companies steal trademarks, they produce counterfeit products and sell them over the internet on platforms such as Shein. They steal intellectual property. They steal data from American companies. And to me, it seems inconsistent with your role as FBI director that you would own stock in a company that is based in a country that is the nation's premier national security threat. It's like you are putting your own financial security over the security of the nation.
I disagree with that characterization.
Well, I think the American people look at it like it's a classic situation of the fox guarding the hen house. If the FBI is charged with investigating espionage, economic espionage by companies controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and you are the director of the FBI, you've got a conflict of interest.
Sir, I would just show if there's any intimation that I'm against.
Why are you holding on to this stock?
It wasn't a decision I made.
And it's valued at up to $5 million as of when you last reported, correct? $5 million in
No,
stock?
I don't follow it. The
You don't
department-
follow it,
the
but you're still making money off of it.
I don't have any money off of anything.
Well,
What I have done,
Trump's trade policies directly impact the value of that Chinese stock. Won't you agree with that?
which trade policy? I'm not a trade expert.
Okay, all right.
But I want to tell you
play
this.
Crazy on me today. Let me ask you this question. Why are you hiding pedophiles? Why are you shielding pedophiles? Why are you protecting pedophiles?
That is maybe the most offensive thing you could say to me, given the numbers.
Well, you have not released
Given the
Epstein
numbers
files.
of pedophiles.
You are aware of the
we have
Epstein
arrested-
client list that was published in the 18,000
The gentleman
emails
has
released?
expired. The gentleman yields back.
Can he answer the
Can
question?
I just respond?
Of course, the gentleman can answer the question.
Since I took over the FBI, there has been a 33% increase.
Sir, all of that started under Christopher
Your time
Wray.
is done, but
No,
the-
it didn't.
The witness gets
All
to
of
answer
that
the
started
question,
under
and then
the
we'll go to our
previous,
next.
33.
FBI director, sir, and you're coming in here trying to take credit for something that a previous director
Gentlemen,
instituted and largely brought to conclusion.
I take
I
no
think it's
credit.
been clear that
offensive.
the
It's
director
offensive.
has numbers are so
incorrect
much
also.
better than the previous director.
It's
Director Patel, if you want to
I take-
answer the question.
I take no credit. The men and women of the FBI have seen a 33% increase in the number of counterintelligence arrests out of the PRC.
So all of a sudden, when
And
you
the-
coming in 7 months ago,
and,
Gentleman's time has
Heaven on earth.
expired.
and on
sir,
the pedophile
American public not gonna
accusation,
go for that.
we have arrested 1,500 child predators in the last 7 months.
Under
That's
investigations
more than
initiated by
anybody else.
the prior
Appreciate
directorship.
the director's good work, and we really appreciate that the time of the gentleman has expired. We now go to the gentleman from Texas.
I thank the chairman. I thank the FBI director for coming before the committee. I assume the FBI director, Mr. Patel, I believe you probably agree with me that there is a significant organized effort on the left side of the political spectrum to advance criminal organizations being able to put more criminals out on the streets. That what we've seen this in daily action. Are you familiar with the report that came out this last Monday from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund?
I'm not familiar with that, sorry.
So this report came out this past Monday, and it said that significant amount of the money flowing out of George Soros and other leftist organizations and funders has been funding DAs and prosecutors, and quote, many of these DAs had never managed an office, prosecuted a criminal case, developed organizational policies. In dozens of America's largest cities and counties, this report finds these progressive district attorneys have outsourced core parts of the American criminal justice system to activists and political donors, taking direction and advice on everything from staffing decisions and communication strategy. Organizations, it's a complex web of donors going in through these organizations to put radical DAs and prosecutors out there, putting criminals on the streets. Does the FBI director agree that this exists and is a problem?
I will accept the factual representation, and if that exists, it is a problem.
The organizations such as TIDES, the Fair and Just Prosecution, Brenner Center for Justice, Partnership for Safety and Justice, the Vera Institute of Justice, the amount of dollars flowing from George Soros through and to these organizations and to the various prosecutors that have resulted in increased crime on our streets, including the brutal murder of the Ukrainian refugee in Charlotte. I bring that up because that is one component of the problem. In addition, we have an organized effort targeting our border. The NGOs, the nonprofits in the deep pockets, the United Nations, charitable organizations, and a long list of over 250 organizations that the Center for Immigration Studies put out that lays out a complex web of organizations that were moving people into our country, knowing that they're dangerous, knowing that they're criminal, associated with taxpayer dollars flowing through the United Nations and donor dollars flowing through organizations, including ostensibly religious ones, putting these dangerous individuals on the street that resulted in fentanyl in our communities, that resulted in the death of Jocelyn Nungare, of hundreds, thousands even, as the director testified, 100,000 people dying from these narcotics every year. All of this in an organized effort, a complete effort by the radical left to use taxpayer dollars and these dollars to put people on our streets. In addition, the extent to which we've seen now with the Southern Poverty Law Center and their hate map targeting, for example, the Family Research Council, where we had a shooting right here in DC over a decade ago, putting Charlie Kirk, putting a target on TPUSA, Antifa, other radical organizations that are very specifically organized in targeting conservatives and ordinary Americans. Well, how about the organized effort to infiltrate our schools and advance a transgender agenda and advance a radical agenda, perhaps one that we will see exposed further in the individual that actually shot Charlie Kirk. So here's my question. Will you as the director, and are you as the director, pursuing all legal channels to follow the truth wherever it may lead on this organized effort, one? And two, do you agree that Congress should take all action necessary to expose this web of dollars that are flowing to undermine our way of life? I got another minute in my time that I'd like to hear from you on this topic broadly.
I'll keep it short. Investigatively speaking, we are doing the following. We are following the money. We are following the money in every organization and every person that is violating the federal code. And it doesn't matter what your background or ideology is, we are following the money. We are using legal process to following that money, issuing subpoenas to follow that money, using grand juries to follow that money. And when we have results to recommend for prosecution to the Department of Justice, we will do that. And we will continue to publicize documents through Congress, yes, when we make these findings.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like unanimous consent to insert the record outsourcing justice by the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund that I alluded to before. I would ask unanimous consent to add a 2024 list provided by the Center for Immigration Studies on these United Nations and other affiliated groups that are responsible, over 250 of them, for moving individuals into our country in a coordinated effort. I would like a unanimous consent to insert a letter that I sent that currently has 33 members of the United States House of Representatives have signed on it, calling for a special select committee to pursue the organized effort from the radical left to target our way of life and undermine our security by putting criminals on the street and having our borders being wide open and putting us in danger.
Without objection.
With that, I would yield back.
Without objection. Gentleman yields back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of unanimous
Gentleman's recognized.
One is a letter from Senator Tom Cotton, dated last year, urging the U.S. to, quote, ensure that data from U.S. companies is not harvested by the Chinese Communist Party through the purchase of Xi'an software and technology.
Without objection.
And also a statement by Marco Rubio, then Senator Marco Rubio, which warned our UK allies about, quote, Xi'an's deep ties to the People's Republic of China.
Without objection.
Also, crime is the record crime is down in 2025. Trump doesn't deserve credit, which demonstrates that the crime rates have been decreasing since 2023, which was published by the Vera Institute. Also, a unanimous consent request to enter into the record a NPR report from July of 2024. GOP vows to make America safe again. Statistics contradict their growing crime claims.
Without objection.
Also, a report out of the American Presidency Project dated January 17, 2025, record low crime during the Biden-Harris administration.
Without objection.
Also, Joe Biden is correct that violent crime is near a 50-year low, which was a PolitiFact publication of May 2024. And last but not least, a FBI releases 2024 reported crimes in the nation statistics. These are FBI statistics published on August 5th, 2025, which details decreases in murder, rape, aggravated assault, and robbery in 2024.
Without objection. Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for unanimous consent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit two sets of documents. The first is a series of emails from the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They are making FOIA requests to get their own FBI files and not having any success. So I want to bring attention to that by submitting that to the record. The second document that I want to submit to the record, for the record, I know we don't usually read these. This one's not readable. It's completely redacted for the most part, the first 50 pages. This is actually the search warrant that was served on James O'Keefe for a diary that he had already given to the government 2 months before. And as it turns out, there were no indictments here, yet he still doesn't know why he was raided, and I think he deserves to know. So,
Without objection.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so I have.
You haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all of the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked, and the number of pedophiles.
It sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name that we have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times. Which
It's not.
leads me.
It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article.
My time,
But
Director.
keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment, because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco
my time,
need it.
Director, remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's
It's a simple question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is
painstakingly
simple.
Who
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out if
Yes
you're going
or
to mock
no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your
Director,
constituency
did
by
you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
that Donald
crime in this
Trump's
country and the number of pedophiles that are
Director,
legally
reclaiming
harbored
my time,
in your
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California?
reclaiming
I'll
my
work with
time.
you on that. Do
Regular
you
order,
want to
Mr.
work with
Chairman.
us on that?
Director,
I
reclaiming my
belong to the
time.
gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The question has been asked and answered.
You've not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt. Director, did Donald Trump ever say to you, just find and release the entire truth? Don't worry if I'm in it?
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Did Donald Trump ever provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant?
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this cute shell game where you say you can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released, but the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to Epstein investigation information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book called Government Gangsters. You identified 20 individuals in that book. You put me on that list, at the top of the list. Thank you. My children find it flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
No, the
because
question
they failed
again,
to meet the muster
Director,
in their constitutional
I will
obligation.
work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm
of
going to
the room, so
borrow
I don't
your
think you can hear me.
terminology and call
I'm reclaiming
bullshit
my
on your
time.
entire career in
I'm
Congress.
reclaiming my
It has
time,
been a
Director.
disgrace to the American
Director, I'm
people.
reclaiming my
You
time.
can
Will
reclaim your
you
time all
recuse
you
yourself?
want.
Mr.
Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to speak this way?
Mr. Chairman, would you give...
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, would you
Mr.
admonish the
Chairman,
witness not to insult members?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman, just
committee will remember.
Quick point of order. Could the gentleman be extended an additional 20 seconds to complete his thoughts, since the witness decided to interrupt him continuously?
And the witness will be able to respond if he wants. We'll make sure he has time to do that.
My question
Gentlemen,
is,
continue.
will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified as government gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
Correct.
Okay. The gentleman from Wisconsin, the gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the FBI's subsequent investigation. I know it's really sensitive, and you know, you can make the call as to whether or not, obviously, it's something that you can respond to, but I think it's still fresh on many people's minds. I want to congratulate you and Utah law enforcement for the work you did in identifying the suspect and apprehending him. According to public reports, and I think this is what maybe it's, I still have questions about, and maybe the public does. According to public reports, the alleged shooter arrives on the Utah Valley University campus nearly 4 hours before the shooting. Was that your understanding? Is that kind of...
I'll let the public reports reflect themselves. I don't have the exact timeline.
Okay. So we don't have any idea kind of his prep or how he set up or how he utilized that time when he first showed up on campus?
All of those are being currently investigated through our cell phone analysis and through our witness interviews. And the state of Utah has now announced charges seeking the death penalty against this suspect. So we're a little limited in what we can continue to say.
Sure, I understand. And the suspect, like you referred to, is then captured on security footage jumping off the roof of the alleged shooting location, the Losey Center. Do we have any idea how the suspect got up on the roof in the first place? I think for members of Congress, especially after Butler in Pennsylvania, it's just unimaginable that there could be some type of security breakdown prior to an event of that size where somebody could access a rooftop.
So not commenting on the case, but having gone to the crime scene and walked the steps that we believe were taken, the roof was actually readily accessible through an exterior stairwell, so anyone could have gotten on it.
Okay, okay. The suspect flees on foot to kind of this wooded area where he drops the rifle, wraps it in a towel, and then proceeds to his staged vehicle and basically drives home. So do we have any idea what the towel was about? Was it used later to identify a place where the firearm was left, or do we...
What we can tell you is the towel, there was a screwdriver found on the rooftop, which DNA was collected off of, and the towel was found wrapped around the firearm in question in a wooded area next to the campus. All have been processed for DNA.
And then, according to the suspect's roommate, there were allegedly messages on instant messaging platforms, specifically Discord, suggesting the towel may have been used to identify that weapon's location. So the public reports have suggested that the shooter acted alone. Do we still believe that that's true? Do we have any idea as to whether or not those Discord messages led us to believe that the shooter may have had help in any way or assistance?
I can only speak to the FBI's investigation, and our investigation is ongoing, and we are interviewing any of those individuals involved in that chat and other individuals in the area.
Very good. And so my suggestion, if there are accomplices, I'm sure this is something that the FBI is going to continue to investigate fully and thoroughly into the future.
Yes, sir.
The reason I ask that is because I don't know that that was necessarily the case with Butler, Pennsylvania. So thank you so much for your persistence kind of in this matter. There's still a lot of public questions that need to be asked. Let me shift to another topic very quickly. On July 31st, 2025, the DOJ and the CIA declassified the annex to Special Counsel John Durham's 2023 report on Operation Crossfire Hurricane. The 29-page Durham Annex contains previously classified information about, among other things, the investigative referral of the Clinton campaign plan. Why would somebody place documents in a burn bag related to this case?
That case is very much ongoing, so I can't comment on the stylization of the evidence we're collecting.
Can you comment at all on the Durham Annex as I described it?
The Durham Annex, which has been publicly released thanks to the FBI's commitment to transparency, is one of the documents that's being utilized. And in general terms, speaking for burn bags, sir, a burn bag is what you use to put classified documents into generally, because that is literally how you destroy them.
So it appears that efforts were made by the Clinton campaign to reach out to the FBI agents or the Clinton sympathizers in the intelligence community in order to lead more credibility to the Clinton campaign plan. Do you think that's an accurate characterization?
Again, I'm not going to characterize that material because it's part of an ongoing investigation.
Thanks for being here today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence, correct?
I believe that happened in 2018. I think there was 2 locations, sir.
It's 2019, and in that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I don't have the catalog of evidence in front of me.
In that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I'll accept your representation.
Okay. And in that safe, the FBI found topless and lewd photographs of girls, correct?
Again, sir, I'll accept your representation. I don't know.
Thank you. It was all over the media at the time. There's a New York Times article that says Jeffrey Epstein is indicted on sex charges as discovery of nude photos is disclosed, dated July 8th, 2019. And the Times reports a trove of lewd photographs of girls was discovered in a safe inside financier Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion. Author Michael Wolff has conducted numerous interviews of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. So let's please play that clip now.
Elected. And I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants. And the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing.
So Director Patel, I'm going to ask you a very broad and general question. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. There are, of course, photos showing Donald Trump together with Epstein, correct?
I don't have the entirety of the photographs, but I think they've been photographed in public together.
All right. Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No.
How do you know that?
because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
so certainly, you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to
Has the
Michael
FBI
Wolff,
asked?
but
you
the
to Michael
FBI,
Wolff?
I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
So Michael Wolff
asked
has
ever.
about 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't, I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
All right, so if you could provide us an answer, that would be terrific. Well, let me ask you this question then. Have you looked at all the photos in Epstein files?
I have looked at all the information that the investigators who investigated this case have provided to run out credible leads.
And in the Epstein files, was there that creepy birthday message that Donald Trump had written to Epstein?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you. You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that. I'd like to move
literally
on.
not how it works.
I'm going to move on now and talk about Epstein's client list. You confirmed that it exists. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed earlier this year that it exists. So I just want to ask you a simple question. Is Prince Andrew on Epstein's client list?
The material related to Prince Andrew has been made public.
Is Prince Andrew on the client list?
We have released the index of names
All right,
that were in Jeffrey Epstein's.
Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list?
The index has been released, and the index will speak for
So
itself.
I'm just going to say, America, there's a huge red flag. The FBI director could not answer whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's
Gentleman's time
client
has
list.
expired.
I
Chair
yield
now
back.
recognizes the gentleman from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the director for being here and for his work over the last several months, removing the taint of partisanship that has infected the intelligence community over the past several years under the last administration, under the last several directors, standing up for law enforcement, standing up for the brave men and women who work in your agency. But to set the record straight, we have to correct the record. And the record, early days of the first Trump administration saw a dramatic spike in news stories that contained sensitive and sometimes classified details about the FBI's bogus Russia probe, about a leak a day. It's unacceptable that senior FBI officials coordinated to leak classified information to try and harm President Trump. Documents produced to the committee in August of this year revealed that the FBI interviewed a former Intelligence Committee staffer who gave details on a systematic process through which leaks of classified information were affected by then Chairman, now Senator Adam Schiff. Were these findings escalated within the Bureau's chain of command, and if so, to what level?
Sorry, were the findings escalated?
Were these findings that were given to us escalated within the Bureau's chain of command, and if so, what level? Did you receive this information?
That entire matter is currently under investigation by the people at the FBI that handle leaks of classified information.
All right, it's good to know that there is an ongoing investigation. Can you tell me whether these leaks to the media compromised any ongoing FBI investigations during the Trump-Russia probe?
I can tell you, generally speaking, the leaks of classified information are detrimental to any work the FBI is doing.
Now, former Director James Comey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that he had never been an anonymous source, nor authorized anyone to be an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation. Was Comey's testimony true?
In reference to Director Comey, I'm very limited in what I can say because of what the current status of those matters are with the FBI and the Department of Justice. When I am able to make those public, I will.
Can you tell me if there's an ongoing investigation there?
Again, without identifying any individuals related to the information you're generally speaking about, there is an ongoing matter that has been under review by the Department and the FBI for some time.
because we know that the documents that we received last month revealed that former Director Comey used Columbia University law professor as a conduit to leak stories to the media that contained classified information. Let me move on to the way that the FISA process was weaponized by past directors. Prior to your confirmation, you raised concerns about government misuse of FISA, including Section 702, stating that FISA was in need of major reform. Specifically, you highlighted that the FISC report that the FBI had conducted 278,000 improper searches of the FISA database. Do you remain concerned about governmental abuse of FISA in Section 702?
I'm always concerned, but what we've done since I became FBI director is implement new audit systems. We are nearing 100% review of the 702 query system that you are specifically referring to, and we've also eliminated anyone that has ever touched that database that has in any way made a mistake, whether intentional or not. And we have also identified a system in which those going forward who misuse the 702 system, they don't get 2 strikes. They get 1 and you're done.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned you're continuing to audit because, as you know, in May, the New York Times reported you closed the FBI's Office of Internal Auditing. Can you explain why you decided to close this office?
Yeah, because under the new restructuring of the FBI, to save resources, there were 2 different places doing the exact same thing. We have a specific division dedicated to audits. I didn't need another audit system doing the audits again. And so we folded some of those folks with their expertise into our specific division and then took the rest of those folks and are moving them out across the country.
Under previous FBI leadership, FBI agents were found to have lied to the FISC. There have been hundreds of thousands of violations of querying standards. In light of past violations, what action is the FBI taking to ensure that similar abuses do not occur in the future?
Exactly what I've outlined. You cannot have access to the 702 query system if you improperly queried that system at all at any time in your career.
Okay, at a Senate hearing 2 years ago, your predecessor, Director Wray, testified FBI had previously purchased U.S. phone geolocation data for a specific national security pilot project and further stated that the project had not been active for some time and that the FBI relies on court-authorized process to obtain location data from companies. Does the FBI purchase location data or any other data of Americans from data brokers?
I don't believe so, but I'll get back to you.
Thank you, that'd be important. I appreciate that. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Washington's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, before you joined the FBI, you had very strong opinions about what the FBI was hiding regarding Jeffrey Epstein. In a September 2023 interview with Glenn Beck, you said the Black Book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. In December 2023, you said, let us know who the pedophiles are. Even for a short time after becoming FBI director, in February of 2025, you tweeted, quote, there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. In June, you told Joe Rogan, quote, we've reviewed all the information, we're gonna give you every single thing we have and can. But then suddenly in July, everything changed. You and Attorney General Pam Bondi released one video and said that there was nothing more to see. Your July memo says you uncovered more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, but that you had decided no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. That is a quote. I think what happened, Mr. Patel, is that suddenly you discovered that Donald Trump's name was all over these files, and you started a giant cover-up. So you are under oath, Mr. Patel. You just testified to Mr. Swalwell that you did not speak to the president about the Epstein files. To your knowledge, did Attorney General Pam Bondi speak to the president about what was in the Epstein files?
I can't speak for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
So to your knowledge, you don't have any information. The question was, do you have any knowledge? Do you have any knowledge?
I can't speak.
You are refusing to answer the question, so let me tell you that the Wall Street Journal reported that in May, Bondi told Trump that he was in the Epstein files, and at the same meeting said that the DOJ did not plan to release the files. Yesterday, you testified to Senator Kennedy that there was, quote, no credible information that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone else, and that you have, quote, continuously and publicly asked the public to come forward with more information and we'll look into it. Today, in response to Mr. Massey's question, you appear to say that the survivors were not credible, These are survivors.
That's not at all what I said.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you this in a second, but let me tell you about
then
the
don't lie about
survivors,
me.
and let's bring them up here into the room. These are women who came to the Hill and testified that they were groomed and raped at the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to
Is
invite
the
all
answer yes or
investigative
no
leads.
to whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and raped?
Any insinuation by you or any
What
people
is
on
the
your
an-
side that I am not manhunting child predators and sex traffickers, just look at the
Mr.
stats.
Patel,
And you talk
Mr.
about
Chairman,
cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you
this
talk
is
about
my time,
cover-ups.
and I will take
Why-
as much time as I
Where were
want.
you during the
Instruct
Obama
the
and
witness,
Biden
Mr.
administrations
Chairman.
when these so-called
Instruct the
cover-ups were
witness.
going on?
Mr.
Why didn't
Chairman.
anyone in those administrations talk to any of these
Mr.
purported
Chairman.
witnesses?
Let's
I
get
have
some regular
welcomed
order, Mr.
every
Chairman.
single person to provide credible information.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Washington.
And I'm
but
gonna
when you-
take
when
another
you
couple
accuse
of
the
minutes.
witness of something, he's allowed to respond. That's how it works. You say
Listen,
something,
he didn't
you
even,
say
excuse me,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman, you have
point
always
of order.
been fair, but this
And
is
I'm
not
being
fair.
fair, and you will get
No,
your-
this
you will
is
get your
my
time.
and he
You will give the
said
gentlelady
that the
a few
witnesses
additional
were not credible.
seconds of time.
I'm going to get an additional minute of time because
No,
that's
you'll
how
get
much
what
time
you
he
won't get a
took.
minute. You'll get some seconds. What we think is under 5 minutes. You don't get to demand how
Mr.
much time you
Patel.
get. That's not how it works.
Mr. Patel, are the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein horrific trafficking ring, are they credible?
Any person with information about ongoing sexual
didn't.
trafficking.
I'm asking you if they're credible.
Ma'am, I'm
Are
commenting
they
on the
credible?
evidence we have.
But
And we have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and we will look at
Mr.
it. And the evidence that we have was the same evidence that the
Mr.
Biden and
Patel,
Obama Justice Departments
Mr.
had.
Patel,
And they
this is
determined, not
new.
me, they determined that that
Chairman,
information was not
Mr.
credible.
Chairman, he's not letting me even ask my questions.
You
This is
ask the
ridiculous.
questions, he gives an answer. You may not like what he says,
No,
but that
I'm
doesn't mean you get to
asking- he's not
interrupt
answering
him.
my question.
Mr. Chairman,
have
could we
an-
restore the gentlelady 45 seconds so she
We
can
will give
complete
her
her question?
additional 30 seconds, which is what I said
I'm
earlier.
going to keep taking my time because
you'll take
here's
the time
thing.
that you get. You get
are
30
not
seconds.
answering the question. The question
I
is,
have, you just don't like the
these
answer.
are these women credible? It's a yes or no answer.
I have answered the question.
Well,
and I
what is
keep
the
telling
answer?
you, I'm the only FBI director that has welcomed new information in this
Okay.
case. This
You're not-
administration is the only one that has welcomed any new information in this
Is there
case.
a yes or no to whether
Present
the
new
victims
credible
are
information.
credible?
Present new
Are
information.
the victims credible
The victims-
or not?
I'll tell you what happened in the last Trump
Are they
administration.
credible or not? You can't even
Victims
say.
credibly came forward, and you know what happened? President Trump authorized the indictments of
President
Jeffrey
Trump
Epstein,
called
not
them
Biden,
a hoax.
not Obama,
President Trump
no one
called
else.
the entire thing a Democratic hoax. So I would like to ask
The
you
gentlelady's
if
time has
you
expired.
will
I gave her the
meet-
additional
if
45
you-
seconds she
if you
requested.
will
The
meet-
gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from
Mr.
New
Chairman,
Jersey is
I would like
recognized
to
for his
ask if
5
you would
minutes.
meet with the women who were sexually
time does not
abused
belong-
and raped and groomed
time does
at
not
the
belong
ages
to the
of
gentlelady from
14
Washington.
and
The time now
16
belongs-
years old. Are
the
you
time-
going to cover up?
No, I'm
Are
not
you
gonna-
going to
I'm
continue
gonna
to
recognize
cover
the
up
gentleman
for
from
the
New Jersey
rich
for
and
his 5 minutes.
powerful men, including those that might be on this committee?
I can yell
Or
too,
are
Mr.
you
Chairman,
going
but I don't want to yell
allow
above
them
this.
to
The time belongs
testify?
to the gentleman from New Jersey. I
Are you
appreciate the
going to allow
gentlelady
them to
yielding
testify,
back.
Mr. Patel?
Go ahead.
Will
Mr.
you
Angelo.
allow them to testify to you,
Mr. Patel, Mr. Patel, thank you for being here. I know it's been an interesting and difficult 2 days. And I wasn't going to talk about the Epstein thing because there's a lot of other issues that affect the FBI, but I have to say a few words. I've sat here, I've listened to this, I've watched it, and you know, my Democratic colleagues are so concerned now, Mr. Patel, all of a sudden. Where were they last year? Where were they the year before? Where were they the year before that? Where was the last president in any of this? Well, all I know, the only thing I see is a single letter from the ranking member that was sent in 2019 that he didn't like the plea deal, and some people signed on to that. Most of the truth, the real truth, let's be honest, let's be intellectually honest. The real truth is we didn't hear from them at all. anybody of them. Hardly any of them ever mentioned it. Some of them didn't mention it at all until the beginning of this year. Earlier in the year it started. Not one Democrat asked Director Wray. We all remember Director Wray was here. Not once, not twice, multiple times. Nobody asked Director Wray about Epstein before this committee. Nobody was that concerned. Where was the concern for the victims then? Where was the moral righteousness then? Where was the outrage then? Where was the sense of duty then? Where was the desire for accountability then? Where was the urgency for justice then? Most of all, where the hell was the integrity then? You know what the truth is. Let's just say it, man. Tell the truth time. The truth is, it's politically useful for them to try to do this now, even though they didn't give a damn about it in the past. And you know what? That's an insult to the victims, and that's an insult to America. Continue to do the work you're doing. Continue to uncover what needs to be uncovered. One real quick thing before I say anything to 9/11. We know that was mishandled by the past director and by the past FBIs. There are family members here. There are family members who are concerned. God Almighty, we want to get to the truth of that. I ask you, please, to meet with them, to talk to them, and to investigate this with truth. You know, in the Biden administration, we went through a very dark and difficult period of time. The FBI trust was broken with the people. Catholics were, this is the stuff we've been talking about, were labeled radical threats for praying in their churches with their rosaries. Parents at school boards were called terrorists for standing up for their children. Hindu holy men in New Jersey. We have the largest Hindu temple in the world. They were attacked. They were put up against the wall with guns to their heads. So it isn't just a Catholic or Christian thing. American Jews were targeted in colleges and universities, and a lot of folks in the FBI, and the past FBI, not this one, didn't give a damn. We can't go back to targeting religion. We can't go back to silencing free speech. The Biden administration did that. So I got questions for you. Hopefully thoughtful questions that you can answer for us in a thoughtful way. How is this FBI now, under your leadership, how are we restoring trust for Catholics, for Hindus, for Jews, for parents, for all the other, for just American people that were targeted by FISA because they had a different viewpoint? How are we restoring that trust in the FBI?
In multiple ways, sir. One, and maybe most importantly, is through transparency and providing the American public with the material so they can see, read it themselves as to what the abuses were in the past, whether it relates to the Catholic memo or the Hindu incident you talked about at the largest temple in North America. Any institution of faith and any member of faith will not be investigated by this FBI because they are men and women of faith ever, period.
And nor should they. Nor should they. I don't mean to interrupt you, but my God, of all the amendments to the freedom of speech, freedom to believe in what you want to believe in, I know you're standing up for that. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Sorry.
Okay. The Richmond memo was driven by a reliance on sources. The Southern Poverty Law Center, you know, the words sound nice, but the organization's not so nice. And we've seen the Anti-Defamation League distort data that counts as violence. Have you been able to identify and eliminate these kinds of partisan sources? We welcome all sources, but we want objectivity and neutrality and decency in the way we report all this. Have you been able to uncover any information there? How do we make sure our sources are good in the future?
We have reviewed the source processes that infiltrate any institutions of faith, and they will no longer be going into institutions of faith. They will be directed towards criminal activity and protecting the homeland, the two most important missions the FBI has, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Good. And I'll say this, there was a lot of bull today, a lot of you know what, and I'm not going to say it because I respect the institution so much going on around here. Continue to do the work of the people. You are here for that reason. The administration is here for that reason. It was weaponized and politicized, the FBI, in the past. I hope to God we never, ever see that again. One of the darkest parts of American history. Thank you, Mr. Patel. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York is recognized for UC.
I would like to introduce a CNN article that explains how an alleged top leader of the MS-13 gang was dismissed. His case was dismissed in Brooklyn so that he could be deported back to El Salvador, even though he was charged with murder.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I have some unanimous consent
Gentlelady from
requests.
Washington is recognized.
I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record an article titled "Justice Department Told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files."
Without objection.
I have another one that is a July 2025 article by the New York Times entitled "How a Frantic Scouring of the Epstein Files Consumed the Justice Department," stating that DOJ and FBI employees reviewing the Epstein files were instructed to flag any mentions of Trump and other celebrities.
Without objection.
And I have another unanimous consent request to enter into the record an August 2025 article by The Guardian entitled "Ghislaine Maxwell Hinted at Epstein's Ties to Trump Officials. Why Wasn't She Pressed for Names?" stating that Maxwell told Deputy U.S. Attorney Todd Blanche that some of the, quote, cast of characters around Epstein are in Trump's cabinet.
Without objection. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Patel, for coming before us to testify today. I am concerned by your repeated claims that you're not able to disclose anything further about the Epstein investigation and files, and that there's no evidence of a broader conspiracy or other people who should be charged, because the American people aren't buying that you've been transparent or that there's nothing further to be seen. In your exchange with my colleague, Mr. Roy, you reiterated something that I heard you say yesterday in your Senate testimony, and that is, under your direction, the FBI will always follow the money. Is that right?
The money, did you say? Yes.
Yes, you said you'll follow the money. That's great. And just now you said you welcome the opportunity to investigate new evidence. So there has been significant recent reporting just in the last couple of weeks that after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, 4 major banks flagged more than $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions connected to him that suggested a massive conspiracy related to his child sex trafficking activities. Director Patel, has the FBI reviewed the $1.5 billion in suspicious bank transactions flagged to the government relating to Epstein and his co-conspirators?
I know the FBI has reviewed numerous SARs. I don't know the totality of that number.
Okay, can you provide us with that number?
I'll get back to you.
Okay. And have you initiated any new investigation of those bank transactions since, say, September 8th, when the new reporting came out?
I'll check with the Treasury Department because they're the lead on that.
Okay, so Director Patel, how many individuals or entities has the FBI interviewed, subpoenaed, or compelled to testify? Can you give us those numbers with respect to these bank transactions?
Not off the top of my head. I'll have to work with Treasury.
Okay. We're concerned, you see, because you say you're going after child predators, but
We are.
obviously this is how you follow the money, is if you follow the bank transactions that apparently enabled the child sex trafficking. Would you agree?
It's one of the valuable investigative tools is to follow the money.
Okay. Have Jeffrey Epstein's victims have asked us to ask you whether or not you've investigated Epstein's lawyers, the lawyers who facilitated those payments. Have you subpoenaed or questioned any of those lawyers?
So in 2018 and 19, what I recollect is many, if not every one of those lawyers was part of the investigation.
But you weren't there at that time,
I wasn't
right?
there.
Okay. So can you get us the names and the numbers of who was investigated then with respect to those lawyers?
As long as I'm allowed to release it, absolutely.
Okay. Well, if we provide you with subpoenas, I assume you can release it. Is that right?
We have a current subpoena and we're working with Congress to provide it.
You've said that the Acosta investigation had an original sin.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Basically, if you're looking at an actual pedophile ring, what you should not do is limit the time frame in which you're legally able to collect information. So search warrants that Mr. Acosta utilized in 2006 and 7 leading to the 2008 plea agreement had a very specific narrow window of years, I think 3 or 4 years. And so information pursuant to legal process wasn't collected for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. It also, subpoenas were not sent out to hundreds of witnesses at the time, hundreds of victims at the time. None of that was done. None of these people were put in grand juries. And so the totality of information from the jump, instead of being this big, was like this. And that, in my opinion, is not how you run an investigation if you're trying to break a sex trafficking ring.
So you're now in charge of the FBI. Why haven't you done that investigation?
Great question, and here's the answer. Simply because I am not able to go back 20 years and collect information that the courts had decided was already subject to search warrants. They have said this was the investigation. There's a non-prosecution agreement out of that plea, and when the case was reopened, and this is where it comes into play, when the case was reopened in 2018 and 2019, the search warrants, again, were limited to the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's a different discussion, but I'm telling you that's the information we
I think
reviewed.
that is a different discussion, and I think the discussion we'd like to have today is why you aren't following the money with respect to the broader conspiracy that it has been reported in the New York Times and elsewhere, and that if you really want to attack the issue, if you wanted to attack the issue, if you wanted to get to the bottom of it, if you wanted to disclose what really was involved in the Epstein files, the Epstein cover-up, that you would be taking very different actions that you are today. I do want to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the New York Times September 8th, 2025 article, How J.P. Morgan Enabled the Crimes of Jeffrey Epstein.
Objection.
And also an article dated July 17th, 2025, in the Epstein case, Follow the Money.
Objection.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlelady yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you much. Pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee subpoena the CEOs of 4 banks, J.P. Morgan, that's Jamie Dimon, Bank of New York Mellon, Robin Vince, Bank of America, Brian Moynihan, and Deutsche Bank, Christian Sowing, in order to get the suspicious transaction reports. These 4 banks have flagged to the government $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions related to the sex trafficking crimes and conspiracy of Epstein, Maxwell, and all of their collaborators. And as you know, Mr. Chairman, we got the SARS reports for Hunter Biden totaling around $20 million. And so these $1.5 billion in SARS reports we should get, especially since the director doesn't seem to be forthcoming. And I request that we do this immediately.
I think the director's been very forthcoming. We will hold any motion to subpoena in abeyance until the conclusion of the hearing. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here. It is quite clear that certain members of this committee, they want their 15 seconds on TV, stamping and coming. Maybe it's for fundraising. Maybe they're struggling in their district. They need a little bump. But they turn a committee into a clown show, and that's what we're seeing. You're being unjustly attacked today. I watched the Senate hearings yesterday. You were attacked there. We know there's an agenda. There's always an agenda. It's the same characters with the same personalities, the same objective, and that is destroy the mega movement. You're being attacked, Director, is because you're effective. You highlighted what you've been doing in D.C. with the president in reducing violent crime. You're very effective. Another individual that was very effective with meaningful debate and dialogue was Charlie Kirk. And they killed him for it. Charlie Kirk was a man of faith. First and foremost, he loved his Lord Jesus. He loved his family. Beautiful wife, beautiful children. Just a remarkable, honorable man that was silenced with this assassin's bullet. I would say if Charlie Kirk lived in the biblical times, he'd have been the 13th disciple.